I'm going to start the recording now. So the North49 customer portal. Things have changed fairly dramatically, fairly recently. I guess that's probably the understatement of the day or the week or the month. COVID-19 has changed everybody's, I guess, perspective on how they have to do things. And of course, companies like us have to react to that, and that, like yourselves as well. I mean, we found differences in everything that we do, from interacting with our family to friends to colleagues to our customers. Everything has changed recently, and very early on when this whole thing started, companies started coming to us and saying, look, we've been in the business of providing integrated web stores to Sage 300 for many, many years now, and companies were coming to us saying, look, we need to get online fast. Well, we were able to satisfy the get me online part of things, but get me online fast was a bit of a challenge, because to implement an integrated web store usually takes a bit of time. We're talking maybe 60 to 90 days to bring a site live. So that didn't really satisfy the I need it fast part of that request. So we've always had the customer portal as part of our offering. And so we made some changes to that, and we'll talk about all those in a minute. But this whole thing about self-service for customers isn't really new. It's been slowly and maybe picking up speed, becoming an expectation for businesses to have that kind of functionality with the other businesses that they deal with their suppliers. And it's probably come to this because of what we've come to expect from marketplace apps like Amazon, for instance. You just have this 24/7, anytime I want it, I can get it, access to your stuff, your account. Where's my, where's the stuff I ordered? Where's my invoice? What was on my last order? All that kind of stuff. So people have come to expect this now. So from a customer perspective, it is now just an expectation. I expect the people I deal with to give me this level of service. Now, from a vendor standpoint, you as the merchant, it actually provides you a lot of benefit as well, because it does help to reduce your administrative overhead, which means customers don't have to give you a call or send you an email and say, please send me this invoice, I can't seem to locate it, or call you up and give you a credit card number so you can pay, when they can now do that online. They can reprint invoices, they can reprint any old document that's out there, even place orders online. And so we took steps to improve our customer portal so that it would provide most of this capability. And the portal has always been available as part of our as part of our Webtelligence or our integrated platform. So what we did now is we extended the functionality of the customer portal. It communicates in a different way, so we were able to split it out from the Webtelligence part, from the web store part, and have it as a standalone application. And we've been doing some significant work to improve its capabilities to try and satisfy this increasing demand. There's a quote here by a gentleman who's in charge of business innovation at BDC, which is a Canadian, I guess, think tank. Business Development Canada is what it's referred to as. And these are sentiments that we've had for some time, that once people get accustomed to doing things in this new way that we all have to do things now, they're not going to want to go back to the way they were doing things before. They're just going to find it so convenient and easy to do that now going back to the old way just doesn't seem to make any sense. So I think we're going to continue to see this increased demand for this self-service. And so companies like us have to really step up our game to provide the kind of functionality and capabilities that you need to service your customers better. Now, it can be something as simple as a click to pay. And this is, you send somebody out an invoice out of Sage 300, and in that invoice or in that email, there's a link. And you click that link, and it takes you to this page, and it just allows them to pay that invoice. And that's it. Simple. Pay the invoice now, and it's going to help increase your outstanding receivables by giving them this convenience and allowing them this easy way to pay. And that's the very most basic part. And you can get this just by itself, very inexpensive and easy to set up. Or you go with a more full-featured customer portal solution, which offers a lot more capabilities. They can look at any document that's inside of Sage 300 that you've got sitting in their account for them, or it's up to you to control that. You get to limit what documents they want to see. You just want to expose invoices and payments, that's fine too. If you want to expose every document that's sitting inside there, that's fine too. And we read this information live. from Sage 300. We do not replicate anything, so none of this data is stored on our servers anywhere. We read it on demand. When he clicks the button and says, show me that invoice, we go and find it, we render it up, and they get to view that invoice at that point in time. And when they're done with it, it's gone. It never exists on the web other than to display for that particular customer in that session. If you want to give them the ability to pay more than one invoice at a time, they can use it by this methodology. They can select multiple invoices to pay, hit the Go Pay button. It'll launch out to their payment gateway, allow them to enter their card details or take one that we've got on file for them and pay that or those invoices, which will automatically end up in an AR receipt batch to be posted and then have all the reconciliation happen through that posting process. And we've added capabilities for customers to store and manage the credit cards that they might have on file with you. And my colleague Etienne, who's joining me, by the way, and sorry, I forgot to introduce him, he's going to be going through the actual live product demonstration, and he'll touch on all this stuff in the live product. We added this new feature here, and this was to try and address the I need to get online fast so my customers can order. This is a new feature to the customer portal, and it's a conduit from the web directly into Sage 300 order entry. And it's really just a web-based order entry screen where a customer can type in any part of the item number, either formatted or unformatted, any part of the description, or any of the, I think it's the 4 different additional description fields that sit inside of order entry in inventory control. And Etienne can talk a bit more about that, but that gives them a list they can select from. They can pick how many they want, and when they select place order, shoots it straight into Sage order entry, either on hold or ready to fulfill. That's really up to you, and this is all within your control. So that was a nice feature that we added, and I think it's going to help a lot of folks satisfy that, I need my customers to order online and they need to get there quick. So it's quick and it's inexpensive, and we'll talk about all that in a minute. I'm going to turn it over to Etienne now, who's going to take us through, again, the live product. Etienne, do you want to take over from here?
Good afternoon. Thank you, Peter. Yes, thank you for joining us. As an intro to showing you the product, I would like to just go through a few of the bullet points. In terms of the way we approached the design of this particular product, we had certain goals in mind to achieve. One was that it would be a set and forget. It is an extremely stable piece of software. It has been part of our overall web offering, as Peter has said. This software has been on the market for probably 6, 7, 8 years now, and it should not contribute towards overhead. We have a saying in the office which says that the tool should not become the job, and we were very specific in our design here that once this is set up, apart from wanting to make configurable changes, that it really should be self-sufficient. We don't synchronize any data up to the web. Literally everything is read real time. There's no daily procedure to complete. There is no reading of orders. Everything happens real time within Sage. Every document we read is read real time out of the system. Every document we write is written real time into the system. And so there is no data synchronization. We do not have any data. The fringe benefits, of course, is that every data is real time. It is live. If somebody says, show me an order on order status, they get that order out of order entry exactly the same way that an internal staff member would be able to access that order. Second benefit, of course, is that it is much more secure. We have never had a breach of our e-commerce system in terms of security, but even if there is such a breach, the data does not exist on our system, so it cannot be compromised. We wanted to have a very full set of capabilities. We designed this product bearing in mind who is looking at it. So it would be your customers looking at this product, and they need to get the data in the way in which they see it. For example, in order entry, you may know that as you ship a quantity out of order entry, the quantity on order becomes 0. Well, we understand that being Sage 300 users, but your customer does not. So we took that form and we said quantity originally ordered equals quantity on back order plus quantity shipped, so that we can give them a sensible number. When they look at that, they see quantity ordered 10, quantity shipped 10, quantity back ordered 0. That is a meaningful view for a customer. And as the merchant, as the owner of the portal, you know where those numbers come from. We needed it to be configurable. We've added a merchant portal to this, and I'll show you that, where the merchant can go in and make changes. They can go in and upload a new graphic for the front page. They can go in and set a new welcome message and so on. And then lastly, we wanted this to be an excellent user experience on any device. And I will start the demonstration to just show you that by design, this has to work very well on all devices, whether I'm looking at this on a 24-inch screen in my office or on my cell phone out on a job site. This has to work well. So Peter, if you don't mind sharing or letting go of the share, and I'll get my screen up here. Thank you very much. Starting off with a blank screen, and probably the most obvious place to start, which is quick pay or click to pay. Click to pay, as Peter said, is our ability to incorporate a link into a document which you send to the client. The client can simply click on that link, and when they do, we will open up a portal for them to pay that particular invoice. That could be inserted into a PDF, into an email. I've just marked up a Word document here where I've included that link over here, and when the customer clicks that link, we're going to bring up the click to pay document. That little pause there was the system drilling down and making sure that this invoice is still payable. So the system will verify this is the correct customer number, this is the correct invoice number, the system went and fetched the amount that is still outstanding. The payment options here will depend on what you've set up in your portal, and so those options will stay here, and that could be credit card, ACH, it could be PayPal, etc. Just by way of demonstration right now to show you how this looks on a mobile screen, that is what we expect to see on a mobile screen. So throughout the design of the system, we wanted this to work well across all screens. Let's go ahead and pay this. As we process through this demonstration, I'll keep on referring back to remember when we did that, because it is real time, it's going to affect what we do. If we go ahead and pay this, it'll take us out to the payment gateway. In terms of PCI compliance, we never touch the credit card or any of the information that we're not allowed to touch. So if somebody should come and say, is your portal PCI compliant? The real answer you ought to give them is not applicable. It's not applicable. We don't have to be PCI compliant. We never touch the card. So a resounding yes, at no point can we compromise the card information. We do have the ability to store the token so that a user does not have to re-enter it again, but that does not fall within the definition of PCI compliance. Let's go ahead and pay this. And a whole bunch of 5s and 4s, if you don't know yet, is a sample card, and you can probably use that about anywhere. We'll go ahead and make this payment. The moment the payment's made, the customer gets a receipt. A copy of this receipt is also emailed out to the customer on record. The customer can go ahead and print themselves a copy. They can store a PDF copy of this receipt, whatever they want to do with it. This receipt is now available for them. What I want to do is just close it down and go and show you two things. One, that this entry has now been made into a receipt batch and account receivable. So I've also got loaded the back end, Sage 300 running this, and this is it. If you recognize Sage 300, this is version 2020.2. We are compatible literally up to date, and as far back, I believe, as version 2014. So if we look at the AR transactions, receipt batch entry, here is our entry, which we've just paid, the 2335, sitting in a batch, no re-entry required. Let's close that up again, and I'm going to do that payment again, just to show you what the system will react like. So if the user goes ahead and says, I want to pay this again, the system will call up that screen. It will go verify. It will find an entry, including entries sitting in batches, and it will say this invoice is not available for payment. So we do track, we do verify that document before we allow the company to pay it. Okay, let's go ahead and have a look at the portal itself. This is what the portal screen will look like. Company logo at the top. I will show you how you can upload that data. We left an ample amount of room here. So even in the image that you upload, you can put wording, etc., of course, as you know. So that is an image which you upload. Welcome to the portal. This is a message. You configure your address. User registration happens in one of two primary ways. Method one is it will just generate an email out to you saying, this is Bob, please give me access to my account, and you can go and create the user. Method two is what we call self-registration. So the user will give us his detail, he'll give us his customer number. We will verify that against some information, and this is a configurable option within the merchant portal. You can ask him for his zip code, for his email address, for his last invoice number, the last payment amount, etc. So whatever data you believe is going to be secure enough to verify that this is the Dinkum guy that needs to register here, etc. And then when the customer registered, there is an option which says, do I want to auto approve this customer? Meaning, okay, go ahead, Bob, you've got access to the portal. Or do I want to put it in a holding pattern and I will approve these as they come through? And I'll show you that in the merchant system. There is an email confirmation sent out to the person requiring access. There's also an email sent out to the company saying, Bob has required access, here is his details, and we've either granted it or not granted it. Right, let's go ahead and log in. When we log in, the system does some verification. So first of all, it will check, is the user valid? Is their account still valid? Is their account inactive? Is their account on hold, etc.? Based on that, it's going to react in a certain way. One of the things it also does is go to the comment section in accounts receivable for this customer, look to see if there are any comments by type of web, and then bring that up to the user in a pop-up note like this. This means that you can communicate one-on-one directly with a customer by simply going to accounts receivable and entering a comment there. Let's go over to accounts receivable and we'll take a look at that account. We are logged in as account 1200, which is Ronald Black. And so I'm expecting to find that note that we saw for Ronald Black under comments. And there it is. So this is the note which has popped up on the system. And the moment that Ronald Black then acknowledges that note, so on the note, when Ronald Black says, okay, we take that note and we reflag that note to be web acknowledged, meaning that Ronald Black has seen it. So in your system, you can see this message was given to Ronald Black. You can also see that Ronald Black has seen it and acknowledged that he has seen that particular request. We also have a broadcast feature. The broadcast feature, rather than a one-on-one communication between you and a particular client, will broadcast to everybody logging into the system. We have a flag which gets set when the user says, I've seen this message, and he won't see it until you reset that broadcast again, and I'll show you that inside of the merchant portal. Let's go through the functionality here. Account activity is a brief snapshot for the customer of his account. Your balance, your open invoices, your terms, last statement, last invoice, number of invoices, etc. Plus total sales statistics for 3 years. I am on sample data, so this is a little skewed, and his account information. The user can navigate back to his startup screen every time, or he can simply navigate with a menu at the top. So if we go view transactions, and bear in mind we are reading this out of the system real time every time that I push the button. As I push the button, the system sends a command through to your internal Sage, says, give me that data, and that data is returned back up to the system. I'll try not to be technical, but I will gladly answer any technical questions, apart from just saying that we do not require you to run internet services. There are no APIs in use. We do not overly tax your system, and we do not put your system at risk by opening it up to the world. We'll be glad to discuss the technology we use, but it is IP to IP communication, and it is encrypted and secure. On viewing transactions, I have an option of saying, show me all or only open. So for example, you'll see invoice number 61. Well, that's the guy we paid earlier. It now has zero balance, even though we haven't quite posted that entry. If we say, show me only open transactions, we narrow that list down to only transactions which now have a balance. So my invoice number 61 is no longer shown here. Open transactions, in theory, would be somewhat akin to what is my current statement of affairs on the system. I also have the option to drill down into particular invoices, or particular document types. And this is an option that you set within your merchant portal. What do you want to allow the customer to have access to? You'll see, for example, that there are no debit notes shown here. So when we get to the merchant portal, you'll see that debit notes is not a checked option for this particular view. So I can say, show me only invoices. So this gives me my list of invoices. And we then have the option of drilling down into an invoice. We will go and find the original source of that invoice. So if the invoice is an AR summary invoice, we will show you an AR summary invoice. If it's a detailed invoice, we will. If it's an order entry invoice, we will drill into order entry and fetch that document from order entry. This means that you don't necessarily have to use order entry to drill down into a particular document, but that we'll be able to find that document for you wherever it originates from. We are also integrating to various other systems. So we've integrated into a system called, oh my goodness, Framework. I'm sorry.
Right, yeah.
Framework is a Framework is a pharmacy or pharmaceutical system. So we will drill into Framework to go find the original invoice. We integrate into Service Manager. So we'll drill down into Service Manager to find the appropriate document. When we drill down, of course, we will show the customer a copy of that document. Customer has the option to print himself a copy of that document, or of course, save it to a PDF or do whatever he wants to do with it. So the customer has full self-serve functionality on their documents. If we look at a receipt, we will, for example, show the customer where that receipt was allocated to. So the receipt came in, Ronald Black made a payment on that date, and this is the document against which it was posted. This information here is being read real time out of the AR posted transaction table. So the moment something takes place within AR, it is rendered here. And as you have seen by now, we will also deal with pending amounts, so amounts sitting in batches. We will not list them as a transaction, but we will recognize them as being valid for us to have a look at. Let's move on to paying the account. And just before we get to paying the account, let's just have a quick look at managed credit cards. We have given you the option to allow your customers to store the token of the credit card on the system. So when they make a payment, they do not have to re-enter the credit card information all the time. In a Sage 300 environment, we also give you the option to look at the Sage 300 credit cards and deal with it there. So if I flip back, just have a look, there are 3 credit cards listed here. One of them is expired. If I go back to Ronald Black, I expect to find 3 credit cards, and there will be 4, but one of them is inactive. So I am not seeing this inactive one. That is out of the view of the customer, and I'm seeing 3 active credit cards, of which one is expired. The customer has the option to delete a card here. We do not, of course, physically delete the card transactions. There may be transactions pending or halfway completed. So what we will do if the customer says, go ahead and remove this card, we will mark that card as inactive inside of accounts receivable. So you still have that card information, you can still process on it, but the customer will no longer see it on his list. Go have a look at Pay Account. Pay Account pretty much does what Pay Account is supposed to do. The customer has the option of having a quick peek at what's inside the document before they go ahead and pay it. And so they can just scroll through and see, oh, what was this? And they'll get a quick look. and then they can go ahead and pay. And let's pay out this whole group here, starting at the 61, which is no longer here, and we're going to pay the rest of them in one shot. Amount is 1,700, and the next screen the user gets then depends on what you have activated in terms of your payment gateway. With this payment gateway here, we have stored cards selected, so the default card is going to come up as a selection. The user may add a new card or simply use a new card without adding it to the system. We have ACH enabled on this particular gateway, so we've got ACH as an option here. We will post ACH and credit card transactions into different batches in AR to allow for a better, at least, measure of reconciliation of money coming into the system and control over that. Since I'm selecting a card token here, we will not take the customer to that screen. We will simply go ahead and process it in the background, and the next thing the customer will see is they will get a receipt processed for them. Again, that receipt is emailed out to the user, and of course they can go ahead right here, print themselves a copy of that and do with that thing whatever they want to. Okay, right, so that is pretty simple. What I'll do is just go back to pay account, select one, and just use ACH just to give you an idea of what that will look like. And we will cancel that entry without completing it. So we'll go ahead, and now you can see it's asking me for the ACH detail of that transaction. It's cancel. When we get to the merchant portal, please remember that we processed 2 payments, one for invoice number 61 and one for that group of invoices, and we've had this canceled one, because I do want to show you how you can track or look up or verify what is happening on the portal from the merchant side of it. Finally, let's have a look at order entry. Order entry allows your customer to place orders, and there are a number of options here which is set on the merchant portal, and I'll show you those. Again, at this point, just a reminder that we intend this to work very well across all devices, and so the user will be able to deal with his purchase orders, even always, well, purchase order for the customer, even on a mobile device. We will keep the item that we're going to add constantly in view here, so that at no point they have to scroll through to add items to their order. We do slide open and close certain information to make this condensed and concise. So again, we're trying to avoid the user having to scroll past information which once entered probably is going to be sufficient. Ship to locations selected from the ship to locations within accounts receivable. So this vendor, this customer has home and warehouse, and he can go ahead and enter a new transfer or a new address if he chooses to do that. The PO number, let's enter a PO number for demo PO here. Request delivery date of the 30th. That sounds like a good day for delivery. And please ship using my FedEx account. Right, let's slide that close. Peter briefly mentioned how we deal with adding items here. We will search the SKU number, the item description, and within inventory control, additional item lines 1, 2, 3, and 4. So if a word or a phrase appears anywhere in those fields, we will recognize that and bring it up. So if we search for desks, we're going to bring up whatever desks we have. We designed this form to be keyboard driven if required. So I'm going to move my mouse out of the way over here and just drive this by a keyboard. So I'm going to say, yep, I want halogen lamp and I would like 2 of them. And wherever there are units of measure available and you have told the system that we can choose the unit of measure rather than dealing only with the selling unit of measure, we're going to go ahead and do that. Also, the finder is semi-intelligent in that if we type something in, remember, we don't have any data. So as I type that in, it sends a request through to the system to give me back a number of options or the items which is going to match what I put in. So the moment I backspace, it says, okay, I don't know what you want to do now, so I'm going to re-query the database. If, on the other hand, we keep on typing, it does not requery the database. It simply refines, because as you're typing, it has to be a subset of the data we've already selected. So if I put the C in there for pencil, I can go ahead, and pencils are cheap, so I'm going to order 10 of them. Right. When we get to posting, we're going to go ahead and place this order. I will show you as we get to the merchant portal that you have the option to either place an order, have it on hold or not. We will recognize the sage mechanics of putting an order on hold, even if you say don't put it on hold. So if the customer is over credit limit, even if you told the system not to put an order on hold, it will be put on hold by Sage itself, because the customer is over credit limit and is going to require some internal action to release that order. We also allow you to place a quote or to request a quote rather than an order. So instead of processing this into the system as an order, we're going to process it into the system as a quote. And we then have the mechanics for you internally to verify that quote. There's an optional field which you can add to the header, which if you set that optional field to release, when the customer then looks at that quote, he can then turn that quote into an order because you have already checked and released that quote for him. So he is allowed to place an order, allowed to place a quote, depending on what you've said internally. The moment the customer then says, okay, go ahead and place this order, we write this order directly back into the Sage 300 system. So this order number 71 has now been created. It is part of the system, and when I go back and check my view orders, I'm going to find order number 71 written in there. Customer can, of course, go ahead and view this order, and of course, they can go ahead and print themselves a copy of that order. So here's my order. Please ship using FedEx. We do put the reference, we put entered by me on the portal. We do flag this entry as being a e-commerce entry. So when we look at this entry, an order entry, we will see that it's flagged as e-commerce. And as we said, this is now available for him to view even on his view orders. If we go back to view orders, here's order number 71. We have that same slide me open functionality here. We can drill into this order at this point again and print ourselves a copy of it or check its status. Its status, as I've said a number of times, is real time and it's uploaded as we go ahead. When we look at the screen, again, we can see, only open orders or completed orders. We will accurately report whether it's been invoiced or partially invoiced. We will be able to see all order types, so active, future, standing, or quotes. If we go to quotes, we'll see that there are a number of quotes here on the system. And instead of looking at this in order fashion, we can tell the system to show us a list of back order items. So the customer can come up and say, what do I have on order? We will show them what they have on back order. And of course, we'll allow them to drill down and have a look at that order, which contains the item which they're looking at. So we're trying to put a three-dimensional view here. What orders do I have outstanding? And also what items do I have outstanding? Before I go on to the merchant portal, let me just quickly skip back into this Sage. Just have a look very quickly at order number 71. Okay, let's call that sucker up here. And here is order number 72. Whoa, sorry, quote, not quote, order. Very often forget that and I have a mini heart attack. Okay, so here is my order number 71. Order number 71, demo PO. In totals, there's my please ship very quickly. And of course, we can see this was entered by electronic commerce. We do have a little application called the order control. The order control will allow a user to take a brief snapshot and say, okay, show me all electronic commerce. Here's my order number 71 that I've just issued, or show me only orders on hold. And this allows the customer to very quickly take them off hold and process them. And of course, from here, they can also drill down into that particular order. Let me just make the screen a little bigger. There we go. They can deal with this order if they wanted to deal with it and then shut that down again. So just a mechanism for them controlling what's coming in through the portal. And that about wraps the portal up before we move on to the merchant side of it. Very quickly on here, there's also a means for your customer to contact you in some fashion or another. When they fill out this contact form, we will email you a copy of what they want, and we will email the customer a confirmation that the portal has reacted. There is a message on that confirmation that you can set that will say something like, "Thank you for your inquiry. We will typically get back to you within 30 minutes of receiving it," or whatever that might be, and that will be embedded in the reply back to the customer in the support query. Customer can have a quick look at his account. He can change the password, and let's log out. Okay. When we log in as a merchant user, we land up on a different screen. So the merchant is going to log in. The merchant is a particular user within the system, and the merchant's going to start off by getting some sort of a dashboard in front of them. The dashboard really is to tell them what the activity of their system is. So, today we've had 2 transactions. Remember, we paid invoice number 61 and all those other things, and the total of that's 4,000. Month to date, I've had that. Year to date, I've had that, etc. We can look at a little graph of 6 months worth of performance, either by the number or by the amounts that's being paid. And we can do the same with the number of logins based on users and customers that's logged into the system and get a graph of that. We have linked the system up to Google Analytics, which will give slightly more of a detailed feedback of what's going on. Unprocessed transactions in a typical Sage 300 system will be 0, because we do write them directly into the system. If, for example, there's a break between the portal and your internal system for some reason or another, or you're busy doing an upgrade or a demo, or you run out of LAN packs, let me just pause and say, we do require a LAN pack in your Sage 300 system. But if there's a break in the communication, we've already got the receipt, but unable to process it into your system, it will appear here. And if you go process, we'll take you over to the receipts function, allow you to press a button and reinsert that thing into your system. So this will be a warning. There will also be warnings at the top here, which will appear if there's anything requiring attention. So your portal is inactive, or whatever might be the case is going to appear at the top here and allow you to action that immediately. Let's just go through the feature very quickly. Under customers, I have the ability to look at users, and users, of course, is going to allow me to look at inactive ones, make them active, needs approval, for example, and I can go ahead and approve them. We do have a fairly comprehensive filter here, so I can say, show me everything that needs an approval, and this system is going to show me all of that. So finding a customer is very easy, or finding a user. Remember, we have multiple users attached to a particular customer if necessary. I can see the last login date, the last create date. We do keep a fairly comprehensive log file, which we will see the benefit of opening up at some point. We can upload users via CSV or spreadsheet files. We can export a file. We can add a user. Going to give away a little bit of future functionality, which is not yet available or implemented here. But we start off with the user type, and that's either a user, or it's a merchant, or an upcoming salesperson. So a merchant is what I'm logged in at the moment. That gives me access to my merchant status, my merchant account. And a salesperson, of course, is going to be somebody that can access multiple clients without having to log in and out as that client. Other functionality here is we have a broadcast. Remember, I mentioned that earlier. Here's my broadcast message. It's active between 2 dates, so you can set up a message, on the 3rd of July, wishing everybody happy Independence Day, and it will stop working on the 5th of July. We do have a reset broadcast. Remember that flag that gets set, so I don't keep on seeing the message. So if I do make a change to this message, or I want everyone to see it again, all I need to do is reset the broadcast, and everybody's going to see that broadcast message again. We spoke about receipts earlier, and that gives us the functionality here to either re-enter or reprocess a system into the that may not have been added to our Sage 300 or other system. We can filter by user, by customer number, so we can get a call saying, I did a payment and we don't know what happened. You are able to come and look it up here. Let's have a look through the guys that we have processed today. So the first one on our schedule here is blank, so it shows nothing. So if we drill down into that, we can see that the transaction was not completed. That was that ACH transaction that we canceled before we completed it. So we do record the moment that somebody says go to the gateway, we write that into the log file. When it comes back from the gateway, we then update the status. If of course there's no reply from the gateway, we assume that something's gone wrong and we mark that as incomplete. The entry we did just before that was done via my 5454 credit card, and it was the entry that paid that whole list of transactions down here. The entry before that was the entry that I made from the quick pay, and that paid invoice number 61. So you have the ability here to track through, to find, to reaffirm whatever you need to do. If the entry for some reason does not appear in your internal system, or the client says, I've done something, we do minutely track what happens, because it is important, and you may need to defend yourself, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but you may need to give an answer to a customer that says, I did that, and I do not see the results. Please help me with that. Okay, to shut down or shut off or finish up, let's have a quick look at what you can set on the system. And again, we believe this is a one-time setup, and then it is let the system go and let it do its job. But you can come back and reset things that you may want to reset. The customer portal is active or not. You can just switch your portal off if you want to do that. Do you want to allow self-registration? Yes or no. Against what do you want to verify self-registration? We've spoken about all of these. Do you want auto approval, or do you want the guy to go on hold? Here is your logo you can upload. Here are the addresses, the welcome message on the front screen, and then the contact us contact. If somebody does a contact us message, who gets that internally, and here is your answer that's going to be included in the response to that message being placed on the system. Features and functionality. This is where we will start by limiting the features available based on the package you choose, but you can also turn certain functionalities off. So if you do not want the pop-up messages to appear, just turn them off, or just don't enter a message by the type of web in AR, but you can turn those functions on and off individually. If you do have stored cards, do you want to store them on the portal, or do you want to store them in Sage Exchange? Of course, we allow storing them directly on the portal. We do intend making the payment available to every major processing company in North America. So them very well will be a number of portal users that do not have an integrated system, but we still want you to store the credit card for ease of use, so we'll give you that option. Remember those documents on display. Remember there were no debit notes here or interest charges or refunds. We unchecked them here, so that's it. Domain name allows you to set a domain name. If you do not want to run our portal system, runs under customer-portal.biz, you may choose to just have a subdomain in front of that, so that'll be yourcompany.customer-portal.biz. Or you may very well decide to put this under your own domain. So if your domain is bobspares.com, you will have customerportal.bobspares.com or myaccount.bobspares.com. And we allow you to set that domain here so you can host it under your own domain name, which might be more appropriate anyway. Contact information. Very simply, all the contact information of your company for technical support, the AR contract, and the customer service contact. Billing information, that is your billing information with us, with North49, so we can keep track of your account. Payment processing allows you to set up your merchants, so you can have multiple merchants that you set up here. And this is going to be, you add PayPal to your system, for example. On each one, we say, what do you want to allow, ACH and credit card? If we uncheck either of these, remember where it came up with, do you want to pay ACH or credit card? That's going to be controlled with this. We also have the ability that you may restrict payment by customer. So we will allow you to put an optional field on the customer. And I think it's CC PMT allowed. We will give you the technical information, but that will allow you to exclude certain company or certain clients to not pay by credit card. So if you do have a special deal with them, you give them extra discount, you do not want to absorb the fees, you can exclude them. You can also exclude payments above a certain amount. So you have a maximum of X number of dollars you can pay by credit card. Anything in excess of that will default to ACH if you allow ACH on your system. Connect setup, this allows you to, if you have the component we install locally on your machine is called Connect. If for some reason you move that component, you reinstall, you upgrade your machine, for whatever reason the Connect changes, then we have the ability to change that over here. We do give you a little bit of help. What's my IP address, etc. Because we need that because we're going to do IP to IP communication. Notifications, what you want to receive notifications of, and then order entry and all its things. So order entry, do you want to use the customer location or do you want to override with the default location? What's your default price list? Use the customer price list, yes or no. Do you want to allow only selling units of measure? Yes or no. Do you want to post orders on hold? Yes or no. Do you want to use miscellaneous charges? Are you going to allow price overrides? Yes, no, or only the salespeople can do that? How do you want to post orders as an order, as a quote, or allow both? And then a message here. We do give you a certain amount of help in terms of Connect installations. You can download the latest version of Connect. We will check and monitor that as well. Warn you if there's a later version of Connect to install. Your firewall settings, how do we get through your firewall if you have one? Test the connection at any point in time. We're ready to do that. And then, of course, your ability to contact us for help. We do give 24/7 technical support on the system. There's no charge for that, provided it continues to be technical support and not training up people. And that pretty much solves or gets me through the portal. I'll hand back to Pete. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Guess I should unmute myself to get going again. So thanks, Etienne. That was good. So just to go back to the slide deck for a little bit, and obviously one of the next questions that falls out of this is how much does this cost? And so we can show you here in a second. If you go to our website, this is all published there as well. One of our objectives was to make this very affordable for people. So it's easy to install. It can be set up in a matter of a few hours. And then as far as cost is concerned, the click to pay, you're looking at under $800 a year. These are annual subscription costs you're looking at here. So first I should mention there's a one-time charge of $175. That's just to cover us getting your instance set up in our data centers. And then for the click to pay alone, $795. The customer portal by itself, without any payment options, is $14.95 annually. And again, that just allows the customers to self-serve, look up their documents, reprint them, all that kind of stuff. When you add the payments, you add $700 a month annually. If you want them to be able to store cards, that's an additional $180. And the quick order entry is another $11.95 annually. So if you put it all together, I think you're still under $4,000 annually if we added all that stuff up. Oh, incidentally, Quick Pay is included, or Click to Pay is included under the online payments part, so you don't have to pay for that on top of the portal with the online payments. It's part of that. So I think that sums it up. If anybody has any questions, you can feel free to type them into the chat or even unmute yourself and just let us know you've got a question. We'll be happy to answer it for you. And while you're thinking of the questions to ask, I just wanted to bring to your attention again what Etienne mentioned, that we do require a Sage user license. That's how we facilitate our communication. So there needs to be one available for us to use. And it's generally a good idea to have one available for us exclusively, so not one that people pop in and out of, because it just means that if somebody tries to use the portal and make a query in or send an order in and there's no land pack available, they're going to get a message back saying, sorry, the system's unavailable now, please try again later. And you want to avoid that, just for customer convenience and user experience. So, last chance for any questions. Well, it seems like we're in pretty good shape there, and folks are starting to drop off. So I think we've done a reasonably good job, hopefully, of illustrating what the customer portal is all about and how it might be a benefit to you and to your customers. If you'd like to have an individual conversation with us, contact information is up on the screen right now. Feel free to reach out. We will be happy to have a one-on-one with you, talk about your specific situation. If you're a Sage partner and you've got customers in mind, happy to discuss that as well. So reach out anytime. We're happy to have that conversation. And with that, I'll say thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of your day. I know for some of you folks down east, it's probably pretty well done. For us out west, we still got a couple hours left. So enjoy the balance of your day, and we hope to speak with you soon. Thanks, everyone.